Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti, and I've got a huge mess of batteries in front of me that need to get that need to have their voltages checked and get kind of organized. Welcome to Whoop Wednesday. We are going to dive into the broken 04 Lite and see if we can figure out what happened. I'm pretty sure it's the camera that died because the OSD still works and still updates. And on these digital VTXs, you've got RX and TX going to the VTX. And so in theory, well, not in theory, the AIOs that we use don't have OSD on them for these digital builds typically. And so the VTX is handling all of the OSD. So I'm pretty sure that the VTX is completely fine and that the camera has died. So we'll pull this thing apart. We'll take a look at the camera. Maybe the E6000 around that camera plug is not enough, right? E6000 is kind of soft, let's say, squishy, stretchy. I thought that by putting an entire bead of it all the way around that plug, it would be enough. But maybe not. So maybe we can see what shit the bed there, and instead of using E6000, we'll use something that hardens a little bit differently, like the UV glue, the UV reactive glue. That stuff hardens. Well, when it cures, I should say, it's super hard. So maybe that's what we need to start using. I have a feeling we won't be able to see anything, to be honest. I have a feeling we're gonna get it apart, and everything's gonna look totally fine. And I'm going to send it to DJI, and hopefully they'll fix it. Apparently they're just fixing these things, which is great. But yeah, we'll see. We'll get some first-hand experience as to what that return process kind of looks like, what the time frame is, what the cost is, if there is any, and all that good stuff. We're also going to do mailbag here today. Some stuff has arrived that's pretty cool that we can take a look at. And we're going to fly a couple of batteries. Make sure you've flown your 6 batteries today, or else. Went out to the dog park a little bit ago with Maggie and Teddy. Flew. I have a bunch of these 1S batteries charged. So I brought a couple of 450 and 550 1Ss charged. And so I brought couple of 75mm rigs. I also have a bunch of these 2S 300s charged, and so I brought the analog 2S rig. Yeah, incredible difference in performance between the two. It's really wild. 2S just completely brings 75mm setups alive, and you get outrageous runtime, outrageous flight performance. It's really nuts, and you only gain like 2 grams. So if you're going down the 75mm motor to motor rabbit hole, I really suggest, as much as I hate to like bail or whatever on 1S 75mm rigs, there's just nothing that they do better. Like, if you have a bunch of these batteries and you don't want to take the time to sell them, I get it. But boy, if you sell a bunch of these and then you get yourself some 2S 300s or 350s, with a Mobula 7 1S that's got the X12 AIO, you just solder BT 3.0 to it or XT30, and away you go. If you do XT30, it's not just going to be 2 grams heavier. It's going to be closer to like 3 or 4 grams heavier. But I'll bet that you can't tell the difference, because the improvement in flight performance is just banana pants. So yeah, you should do that. You really should. It's you deserve to have the 2S 75mm experience. Where are things? Everything is not everything, but so many things are now out of place, and there's a lot of things floating around. I got to get things back where they belong, in their places. So there's going to be a little bit more 75mm 1S content, because I've got 4 more of these batteries charged. I'll try to fly them tomorrow or something like that. I am still exhausted. I am banged up, man. I am just these 2 trips back to back like this, and like changing time zones and all that jazz. It's yeah, I am struggling. I am really struggling. I got a ton of rest yesterday and today, but I'm still yeah, I'm still hurting. I'll be all right though. It'll be fine. I'm looking forward to kind of feeling better though. I also kind of had a rough therapy session yesterday. The rough ones are always the good ones. They're the ones that, you know, you end up growing a lot from. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the point. You know, it took me a long time to find a talk therapist that would be real with me and be hard on me and push me to be better, you know, and that's kind of what's important, right? And so it's a good problem to have, but yeah, mentally I'm struggling for sure. But that's how it is sometimes. The only way to you know, get through some of this stuff is to kind of face it and work it out and move through it. So yeah, if your talk therapist is not challenging you, and if you don't sometimes feel like shit when you leave there, think about maybe exploring options, because it's typically not cheap. For me, it is very not cheap. And so, you know, get your money's worth. I guess if it's covered by insurance and you're just going to dump and scream and yell and just drop all your problems on somebody else, you know, you do you. That has some value for sure, but finding a talk therapist that can really like challenge you and make you face shit, that's and say the hard things to you, you know, like, you fucked up, buddy, do better. They're not gonna say that, but yeah, it's worth it to find a really good one, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm lucky to have found that. So yeah. The flying from the beginning of the stream was goggle DVR with the, where is it? With the 04 rig. That the internal storage had filled up, and so the last like 4 batteries that I flew with this at the little drift car chase place, at the RC drift place in Denver, I only got goggle DVR, which is super annoying because I was really like dialed for a lot of that. The goggle DVR though is 1080 30, maybe 1080 60. It's at least 1080 30, and it's kind of usable, but like, yeah, just kind of annoying that I didn't have it in full donkey mode for that. It's my own fault. I didn't see the icon showing that the onboard storage was full. I was just having fun flying, so that's okay. It happens sometimes. It's more important to have fun than to have great footage, you know. On this other monitor, all that flight footage is still playing. In the chat, Flycadelic was first, Doubles FPV, Matthew Wegner, Mike K, Capital C, Levster, Frank Nicholas, Craig, Frosty, CBFPV, Yukon FPV, FizzPV, Pacific North Whoop, Frank Nicholas again, DKZ Project, Brian Kirk, Johnny V, Chris Mel, Frank Nicholas again, Craig again, Disabled Combat Android, Mike K, Sleepy CBR, Brent Anderson, Chris Mel, B-Bird. Lots of new people. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Or maybe you've just been lurking in the shadows and now you're actually talking in the chat. I love it. Either way, I love it. Welcome. Disabled Combat Android, Travis Hayton, FizzPV, Skull 901, Brent Anderson again, Islander FPV. I think I got everybody. What's up, friends? If you want to talk directly to me, type CiottiFPV in your chat message. Type their name. If you type Frank space Nicholas in your chat comment for Frank, his name will light up an orange, and then he'll see your comment and he'll reply to you. So yeah, do that for each other. Do that for me. Those are the only chat comments I read. I don't, just sit here and read through the entire chat. If you guys are talking amongst yourselves, I don't want to be nosy. So make sure you type CiottiFPV when you want me to read your chat comment. Levster says, hey guys, CiottiFPV, what's up? B-Bird says, CiottiFPV, are you interested in doing the Igow challenge tonight? You have to do a split S over an object. I always want you guys to ask me this. B-Bird, thank you. I always want someone to say, yo, please do the Igow challenge tonight. I don't care what live stream it is. Please do that. Split S over and then telling me what it is, bonus points. Split S over an object, then immediately go into an Immelman after you pass under it. Indoor Immelmans are hard. Immelman. I always forget what Immelmans are. I think it's like half a power loop and then you just roll. Right? No, that's a Matty flip. I hate using AI, but boy, is it handy. Half loop and then rolls upright at the top. Yep. So, what is it? Split S over an object. Then you go through the object. Yeah, cool. We can do that. So, that's pretty similar to what I do with the gem fan gates, the hanging gem fan gates in the cube. So we can easily do, not easily, but we're going to go through the top. We're going to go through the top gem fan gates. We're going to split S. We're going to drop down, go through the cube, and then we're going to power loop up back through those the hanging gates again, and then just roll right out. Matter of fact, let's do that right now before I get busy and things get insane. And I've got a bunch of batteries sitting here that need to get flown down. So let's just knock that out right now. That's again, thank you, B-Bird, for asking me. Let's dive into it. You guys should all do Igow. It's incredible, and it's gonna push you, and it's gonna get you flying. And it's going to force you to learn all the different tricks. And yeah, All good stuff. We're going to do this with the Mobula 6 2024 that has 40,000 kV motors on it. So let's see what we can do here, and hopefully I can give you guys some tips and tricks to make this a little bit easier for you. So here we go. You guys have video? Yeah, you do. All right, cool. So we'll break this down into pieces. Split out. You don't have to do this through hanging gates, but it might help. So, starting off with the split S. You would think the easiest way to do it is to just approach it like this, roll it over, and then catch it. But to me, and I don't know if this is allowed, but for me, to make this move easier, I would do it low. I would do it low. See how much more time I had there? By giving myself that throw. It's a little bit harder if you're trying to do it through a gate. But see how much more time I had there versus if you approach it high, you're just dropping, right? With this, you've created all that hang time. Inside the house, hang time is really difficult to kind of create. And it's all about flying really low to the ground, flipping the throttle all the way up to the ceiling, and then letting it fall all the way back down. So we've got the split S. Then we're going to go through the object, and then we're going to half power loop up and out of it, and then roll. And so we talked about the split S. Let's talk about the Immelman. Down through, half a power loop up and out. Down through. And then just kind of like as soon as you get... Now I remember why I don't do Immelmans a lot. They don't look very good. Once you get up and out, I kind of twisted that around a little bit. I don't really know of anything that's going to make this easier. It's just, you're just kind of doing a power loop. I'm kind of cheating it a little bit, and that's why it's coming off axis a little bit there. I'm doing it a little early. But I'm also using yaw. I need to stop using yaw. That's what's rotating it out. There it was. Don't overthink the Immelman. I guess would be my advice. Just think of it as a power loop. It's actually harder to do a power loop because you're not sort of... You have to go all the way back through, and then you have to like catch it on the ground. This is just throw it up and then roll it back over. Let's do another battery. So yeah, try not to overthink the Immelman. Do it think of it as a power loop. And then as soon as you see the ceiling, just roll out of it. I think that's going to be your sort of best bet. This is pretty tough for like one of the first couple weeks. I'm impressed. That's a good thing. In the past, Dan has spent... By the way, I got to hang out with Dan over the weekend, which was super awesome. It's funny. I felt like we'd met before. I think it's because I've watched so much of the Igow stuff. We'd never actually gotten to like meet and talk before. So that was super cool. Okay, so let's see if I can fly for more than 4 seconds without crashing, and then we'll try to put it all together. Okay, well, not doing a great job of that. So, split S, down through, ugly, ugly, ugly. Split S, nope. So if you're not lined up properly, turn the split S the way that you want to go. So I'm going to line up here to the right. like this. And then I'm going to split S to the left. See how it pulled me in? The direction that you... If you perfectly line it up... I wasn't quite perfectly lined up there, but if you perfectly line it up, it doesn't matter which way you turn it over. But if you're not perfectly lined up, you can fix that by turning it over in the direction that you want to go. Always roll the direction that you want to go. And if you really want to make it drastic, drag the throttle. I did not zero the throttle that time, and I covered a ton of distance left to right. Or maybe it was right to left, but if you're perfectly lined up, chop the throttle, then turn it over. You want to be zero throttle when you turn it over. If you're not perfectly lined up, drag the throttle a little bit, and then you can recenter yourself. So, split S down through. Jesus. Okay. Split S. Okay. Flying very sloppy tonight. Split S down. Yeah, that was quite yucky. Split S. Nope. Oh, stop it. Come on, dude! I'm not walking over there. I'll do this until the battery catches on fire. I don't care. Sorry to anyone wearing headphones. That was dumb. Alright, let's get it on this one. Here we go. In terms of combining the two, I guess try not to rush between one and the other. You can kind of approach them as two separate things, although it sort of depends. I mean, for me, I'm having to kind of combine them because I'm doing them with these hanging gates and then the cube. But you can probably give yourself a little bit more time, space the stuff out, use bigger gates, that kind of thing. Wow, I can't even do a fucking split S, Jesus. Oh, yikes. Hold on. Getting closer, but boy, is it ugly. I mean, that was like the ugliest possible version of it. Nope. Fuck you. God damn it. Fuck you. Yeah, no, I can't just not... There's so much shit to hit over here that I have to, like, either line it up right or don't do it. I always think that I can just come in at, like, an insane angle and just correct it on the rollover, but there's just too much to hit over there. There's the couch that's like an inch away. There's the fucking bar cart and the gold lamp thing. All right, let's get a clean one here. I should probably be less worried about getting a clean one and worry about being able to do it at all. But, you know, it is what it is. All right. Here we go. So, I mean, that was it. I just didn't get it through the... Kind of got it through the hanging gates, but I put a bunch of yaw in there for no real reason. Not feeling it tonight. See, when I do that and I try to correct it in the air, it lines me up with the couch. I kind of have to... My direction of travel has to be straighter. Jesus Christ. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I'm not very good. Jesus fucking Christ. I don't think I have it in me tonight, friends. Maybe we'll try again on Friday. It's just one of those nights, man. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna be able to do it tonight. My brain is in a bad place, and I don't fly good when I feel like this. Oh, you fuck. Oh my god, why do I hit the top of the gate? Why do I just fly face fucking first into the top of the gate? Why? Happens all the time. I just fly into the gates. Oh look, there's a gate. I could go through it or I could hit it. Let's hit it. That'll be way more fun. Yeah, great. Well, I think there's only one more battery that needs to be discharged. Oh, no, that was the last one. Perfect. Perfect. So I didn't get it, but that's not surprising. I'm not very good. You'll get it, though. You guys will get it. Give yourself a little bit more room than this, and you'll be totally fine. Hopefully those tips help a little bit. You know, if you're not good at something, teach it. Right? That's the joke. All right. Pacific North Whoop flew 6 packs. Awesome, brother. Craig says, I can confirm 2S 75mm gets 6 minutes runtime. Yeah, the runtime is bananas. Craig also says, on my 2S Mobula 7, I replaced their canopy with the 3D TPU McStinky. Saved some more. Nice. The only thing I don't like about the McStinky is a lot of times there'll be like the UFL port or something else that makes the McStinky sit kind of sideways. I haven't had much luck with it. I haven't really found many AIOs that the McStinky will sit flat on. But Skull 901 says, see if a Whoop will lift an Oreo. It will. It definitely will. Doubles FPV says, why is your analog look so much cleaner than my 2024 Mobula 6? Is it just my trash Fat Shark DVR? Yep. Fat Shark DVR is awful. But I mean, all DVR looks pretty bad. What I was just flying is a Mybula 6 2024, but it does have the super fancy TrueRC Singularity antenna. Antennas have a lot to do with it, so try some different antennas. I really like the ORT Micro V. This TrueRC Singularity antenna is direct soldered to this AIO, which I did after the UFL broke off. I don't really run these antennas anymore, but yeah. If you're on like a stock whip antenna or a lightened whip antenna, especially, get an ORT Micro V. They're much better. Kazuma says, I broke my camera mount today on my Air 65. What's a good replacement? I have not found a good replacement. That is like the one. The Air 65 canopy is the best of the canopies for the CO3 camera that I've been able to find. So I would just get a replacement. I've found that they're I mean, you can eventually break them, but they're pretty durable. So yeah, all of my rigs that have CO3s, I use the Beta FPV canopies, and they've held up pretty good. I gotta find I lost the antenna on this one. It's somewhere in this basement. I gotta find it. We're flying that one on Monday night stream. New failure point for HQ props. I had 2 of these do this to me at the Cinewhoop Open this weekend. This is brand new. I've never seen a propeller break mid-blade like that. And yeah, 2 in a row. Very strange. What is nice is you can fly home on this, but boy, it gets the motors in the ESC hot because it's vibrating like absolute hell. So that's super weird. Has anybody else had HQ ultralights fail in this way? Typically they break at the hub. I've got like a dozen or so over there under the lamp that have exploded at the hub. That's the typical way that these ultralights let go. This is a new one, which is wild. Super weird that it hasn't happened yet, and now all of a sudden it happens twice in a row, right? That was very unexpected, but hey, what can I say? So these are the 1.2 by 1.2 by 2s. And it looks like I don't have any... Looks like that was my last set of green ones. So this all green rig is about to be less all green, which makes me sad. Bad HQ ultralight. Bad. No. You're a good boy. You're fine. He's looking at me. What do we need? High right? I need a high right. There we go. Hey, I figured out something about the pin vise with the prop poppers. You can put these things into like storage mode, right? See how I don't have the drill bit sticking out? You can sink the drill bit down, and then you can travel with it like this, and you don't have to worry about the drill bits breaking off or ruining stuff in your bag. What I do recommend, though, and so these pin vices and the drill bits are available over on my Etsy store. CiottiFPV.com is how you support me. This is a totally crowdfunded thing. This way, when I review stuff, you don't have to worry about, like, is he just being nice because he wants to get more stuff from X or Y or Z manufacturer. Best way to support me is by joining my Patreon. It'll only cost you $3 a month, which is 10 cents a day. I must have saved you from buying something at some point. Kick me a couple of those dollars back that I saved you, and I'll keep doing this, and I'll keep telling you what to buy and what not to buy. Over on CiottiFPV.com is a link to my Etsy store where you can buy a very similar looking pin vise with or without the 0.99 millimeter and the 1.5 millimeter drill bits. It's actually 1.47 millimeters. And then, yeah, if you're going to travel with your pin vise, what I'm going to recommend is that you flip the drill bits upside down so that the threads are inwards. The little chuck kind of grabs more at the tip, and so you want the chuck to grab down here. You don't want it to grab the actual front part of the drill bit. So put it threads, or whatever the hell the grooves in the drill bit are called, inwards, and then crank it down. And then when you want to use it, you just take it out, flip it around, and screw it back down. Make sense? Is that even in there? Yeah, that's even. So yeah, that was super nice. I almost didn't bring this, and then I was like, nah, I'm gonna need it for sure. And turns out that I didn't, but hey, I had it. If I had needed it, I would have been fine. So this is an HQ Ultralight 1.2 by 1.2 by 2 that I haven't put onto here yet, and so it is almost certainly going to need to be drilled out. We just run it down the drill bit while spinning it, and then I like to pull it off of the drill bit without spinning it. That tends to remove a little bit more material. Just try to push it on and pull it out of here as even as you possibly can. Try not to be like twisting it or side loading it. I've not really had a problem with that before, but you know, just don't do it. And then when you go to put the prop onto the motor, just pay attention. Don't push as hard as you can. Push lightly, and if it goes all the way on, great. If you push lightly and only goes on halfway, push a little bit harder. If you get to the point where you're starting to really push on it, stop. Take it back off, drill it out again. This is how you make your motors last. One of the easiest ways to ruin a Cinewhoop motor is by pushing propellers on too hard. The motor shaft, it is knurled, but it's more splined, and it has these vertical splines to it. Those don't help when you push downwards on it. And when you push down really hard on the propeller, you're pushing the motor shaft down through the motor bell. And it's very easy to push with those vertical splines. They're not doing you any good. It's very easy to push them down through that motor bell, and once that slips, you're done. That motor is ruined. You usually won't realize it right away, but a couple batteries later, the rig will like barely take off. It'll be acting like it doesn't have any power, and that's because the motor bell, the magnets are on the motor bell, so that's where the twisting force comes from. If that motor shaft is not securely planted in there, the motor bell is going to spin on the prop shaft. The way that you can test that to see if you've already screwed a motor up is to pinch the bell of the motor with your fingers, and then take on one hand, and then just try to spin the propeller on there. Don't push hard. And then if you get a little bit of motion, it might be the propeller spinning on the motor shaft. If you think that might be what it is, pinch it from the other side so that you can see the C-clip on the bottom, and do that same test. Pinch the motor bell so that it can't spin, and then spin the propeller and see if the C-clip spins. If the C-clip doesn't spin, you're okay. That means that the propeller is spinning on the motor shaft. You'd rather have that than the motor shaft spinning on the bell. This thing is now good to go again. So yeah, there you go. That's how you save your Cinewhoop motors. That's a real thing. That's like a pretty important thing if you're trying to save money. If you just don't care about throwing money at Cinewhoop motors, then by all means, ignore all of that. But you shouldn't, because that little trick there will save you quite a bit of money, right? Because these motors are $10 a pop, or $40 if you buy a full set. Most websites don't sell the individual motors, so a lot of times, depending on the motor, of course, a lot of times you do have to do things. Buy a full set. So that could be a $40 mistake, you know what I mean? What else is happening here? YouTube just scrolled me to the bottom. BMO's Ride and Grind with a $9.99 in super chat. Is better late than never. All the love. Thank you so much, brother. Very, very cool of you. BMO is from Hattie B's, which I've talked about quite a bit. If you have a Hattie B's near you, by all, like, go now. Turn this nonsense off and go. Islander FPV says, just got my first 04 rig after years of only flying analog. My first flight, I turned on race mode and was blown away by how good and connected it felt, plus being able to see in HD is magic. Yeah, 04 is pretty unbelievable. Race mode is still not as low latency as analog, but damn is it close, and you can see where you're going. Crumbled FPV says, hello. Mr. Oreo 6211 says, I built a 75mm 04 2S build with 1102 22,000s at 70% motor limit. I'm experiencing a fair bit of vibrations. I have a stock Mobula 7 canopy screws. and running stock tune. What should I look into? First thing you're always going to do is change the propellers. And don't just put on a fresh set of the existing propellers. Try a different propeller. The Gemfan 1610s, which are a biblade, those are typically really well balanced. But just for the sake of, like, you never know. There could be like a batch of props that goes out that are out of balance, or they could be bent, or God knows what. Try a different kind of propeller. After that, you want to check your motor shafts to make sure that they're not bent. 1102 22,000s, I'm going to assume, are the Beta FPV motors. Those are usually okay, and they've got a 1.5mm motor shaft, but you can still absolutely have bent them. Easiest way to test that is to pull the propellers off. Motor shaft is here. Take your fingernail, go into beta flight, and spin them up to like 10% or 20%. So that they're spinning pretty slow, no props on them. And then take your fingernail and push your fingernail up against the motor shaft. Motor shaft's going to be spinning. When you push your fingernail against it, if it's bent, you'll feel it. It'll hit your fingernail. If it's straight and true, you put your fingernail against it and you won't feel it. It won't be banging against your fingernail. Then you want to make sure all your screws are tightened up. And then you want to look for any cracks in the frame. Then you want to look to make sure that your AIO is soft mounted properly. Your AIO can't be pushed into anything. It can't be mashed against a wire, or you said it's an 04 build, so you need to make sure that your 04 VTX is not pushed up against the AIO. The AIO has a very sensitive gyro on it, so the AIO has to be free floating. That's why we put those rubber grommets on the corner. The AIO needs to float in space, and then everything else needs to vibrate around it. But that it's really important that AIO has those rubber grommets on all four corners, and that it can move a little bit in each direction. So that's one of the ways you can test it. You can just push on the AIO to make sure that it can move a little bit in either direction, as well as up and down. You want it to be able to move up and down a tiny little bit. That's pretty much it. Those are pretty much all the things. I just gave you a bunch of stuff to check. BMO, thanks again for the super generous super chat. Nathan Wells says, on my 85mm 2S04, I'm going to try running the HDLRC Petrol 85 frame with clipped outer ducts, leaving the uprights, and using the included carbon lower frame, wider batteries possible. Very cool. So you're going to clip the outer ducts, eh? I mean, I guess if you're running this carbon fiber brace, you should be able to do that. I see what you're gonna do. You're gonna cut it out here. Let us know how that goes. That's super interesting. Yeah, with that carbon fiber brace, you should. Normally, you can't just go clipping the ducts on these because the ducts are structural. Like everything on a Cinewhoop frame is structural. But if you're going to have this carbon fiber brace, and something cool that HDLRC did is they made this carbon fiber brace trace the same line as the supports. So you're not adding that much extra obstruction to the airflow. You are still adding a little bit, and you are also still hard mounting the motors, which is going to put a lot more stress on the motor shafts and probably lead to a lot more bent motor shafts. But if you're going to do a carbon fiber brace, this is the way to do it, right? That is only going to add a tiny little bit more obstruction to the thrust here. Very, very minimal. They have it like tucked right up against the frame here. So yeah, this won't be. This will add a little bit for sure. But that's a really slick setup that they did there. I like that. I didn't notice that. Very cool. Okay. When I eventually kill one of the Happy Model 85mm frames, I will replace it with this and check this out. But I'm not going to tear one of those apart just to swap it over. I want to see how much abuse that they'll take. And they've already taken a whole hell of a lot, so I'm already really happy with the thing in the place. BMO's Ride and Gride says, great tip to flip the bits. Thank you, brother. EUC NFPV says, my CO3 air canopy broke in 3 places from one crash. Jesus, that really didn't seem that bad. That's nuts. I've only broken one of those air canopies. I've been really, really impressed. And it broke on a really, really, really hard hit. So, Brian Kirk says, if you haven't processed my Etsy order, I'll add one of those drill bits to it. I am behind on Etsy, guys. I apologize. Let me look it up, dude. I probably have not because I've just been out. I've just been away. Orders. Brian Kirk. Yeah, no, yours is still here, brother. So if you want to do, you can either just do another order, or you can shoot me a message somewhere. CiottiFPV.com has all my contact info on it. You can just shoot me a message somewhere and say, hey, I want to add so and so and so. And then I'll tell you how much that's going to cost, and then you can PayPal me, and I'll just sneak it in there. So yeah, either or. Neuron says, hey dude, what's up? I took a Mobula 6 from 2021, put it on an 85mm toothpick frame with RC and power 23,500s, 2-inch props, and it rips like hell. 27 grams without a battery. Thanks for everything, mate. You're certainly welcome. Mobula 6 from... Oh, okay, yeah. So a Mobula 6 from 2021 has 802s on it. Oh, wait, no. You said RC and power 23,500s. I'm going to assume that those RC and power motors are an 802. Maybe they're a 1002. 2-inch props are a lot for 802s. 1002s, okay. Nice. You're pushing that AIO pretty hard. So that's a 2G4. You're pushing it pretty hard, but it should be okay. Very cool. 27 grams without battery is really light. What toothpick frame is that? Mr. Oreo says, awesome. Thank you for the tips. You're certainly welcome. Craig says, did you send me a CiottiFPV NASA style shirt? Looks great. Thank you. I don't remember doing that, but you never know. I'm pretty sure that wasn't me. Who did it? Nathan Wells says, you were talking about building an open prop rig. I'm waiting to see that happen. Figured I'd start with this. Nice. Yeah, I gotta figure that out. I gotta do some research on what frame I want to go with. Okay. Gems from Pirate frame, Neuron says. I don't know of that frame. Pirate frames, gems. Oh, look at that. Okay. It's awful stabby, so it must be this one. Great. Works well. This is all we get? We don't get any, oh well. Looks like a pretty standard little toothpick frame. Pretty slick. They did the, they set it up to take the 3-bolt motors or the 4-bolt motors. That's pretty cool. I like that. These, I'm guessing, are for rubber band to hold your battery on the bottom. Cool. And they've got the carbon fiber weave going in the correct direction, so that's awesome. Dave S says, I have 2 motor choices for 2S 2-inch building with Mobulate frame 1102 13,500 or 1102 18,000. I'm thinking lower KV for the bigger prop. Yeah, for 2-inch, 1102 13,500 is more than enough. You're probably going to have to motor limit that down a little bit. If at some point you think you might take that rig down to a 1.6-inch propeller, then you'll kick yourself for getting those lower KV motors. That's where the 1102 18,000, and so you could motor limit the 1102 18,000s down for 2-inch, but you're gonna have to motor it down. You're gonna have to motor limit it a lot. So if you live somewhere that's windy, or if you just want the extra power of the 2-inch build and there's no chance you're ever going to drop it down smaller, then yeah, the 13,500 is absolutely what you want. And you know, if down the road you want to go smaller and you have those motors, you can be like, well, I have to buy another set of motors. Ciotti told me. Feel free to throw me under the bus with your significant others from a budgetary standpoint whenever you need. It's fine. All of the FPV significant others, I'm fine with them all hating me. That's totally cool. I will make that sacrifice for all of you. What are we doing? All right, let's dive into this. Well, no, hold on. Go watch Mighty Car Mods. It's the best car channel in all of YouTube. FizPV sent me a very cool package here. Can I open it from the side? Yes, I can. Let's open it here. FizPV, thank you in advance, brother. This is he sent me pictures of it because he I feel like he wanted to. He might even have said that he wanted to surprise me, but he wanted me to pick the design, and to be honest, I would rather that. I would rather see it beforehand than have it show up and like the design is wacky or it's spelled wrong or there's something weird else going on. Ooh, there's all kinds of goodies in here. FizPV works at a printing shop that prints big on cool material, and so he made me a couple of landing pads, which are just super cool looking. Get in there. I don't need 2 of these, so I might do a giveaway or something like that with the other one. Fizz, this is rad, dude. This looks super cool. Big ass gangly gang logo in the middle. Is this something that a bunch of you guys might want for me to put on the FizPV says they're Panaflex. Nice. is this something that you guys would want me to sell on the Etsy store with the Gangly Gang logo on it? If so, let me know, and then I'll bug Fizz and ask him what it would cost to have a bunch of them made. That is super cool, dude. Thank you. And then we've got this rat with a bat sticker. I think this might be, maybe this is Fizz's logo or something like that. And then OBO skateboards. Nice, big, colorful looking stickers. I hate to peel the fronts of these stickers off, but it doesn't look like I really need the front per se, because they're not, this one at least isn't cut out, but I have to see how colorful this is. So hang on. Oh my god, yeah, this print quality looks awesome. Yeah, I'm safe to pull the front. This one's got a bunch of like really tight corners in here, so I won't pull the front off of this one. But this other one is just round, so I'm okay to pull the, what is this called? Transfer paper, maybe? Look at that, yo. Look how that print quality is amazing. OBO skateboards. God, that looks really, really good. Very, very cool. Look at that, man. All matte. That looks great. Fizz, thank you, dude. This is super, super cool. What's the transfer tape? That's what it's called. What's the rat with a bat? What's his story? Dude, awesome, man. Matter of fact, yeah, like I said, one of these I'm gonna try to get out there into the world, but this other one goes over here, I think. Hang on. There we go. Teddy, no, you don't need to run over there. Very cool, man. I put it over in front of the TV. Oh, I don't have any more batteries that are charged. Next time I fly, you'll see it over there in front of the TV. And then I also finally got my package from CNC. It's not CNC Madness, is it? It is CNC Madness. Initially, they were waiting on me to get back to them because I needed to. I needed things that weren't available on the website, so they had to add them to the website. But yeah. Words. Cool. All right. So CNC Madness is who cuts the AOS frames, and I am moving the live broadcast setup over to DJI 04, 04 Pro air units, and so I got a couple of the new AOS frames, and I'm just going to approach this as like fresh builds, I think. The one build, the ESC blew up, so I'm going to pull that one apart, and then one of these is going to be just a fresh build. I should have an extra flight controller and ESC floating around here somewhere. And then I'm also going to be putting these onto the Nomad setup. These are both going to be dual band 900 2.4. So this is going to be pretty exciting. This is the AOS 3.0. This is the 3.5. The 3.5 will be getting bi-blades and probably 1604 motors. The 3.0 will, I think, be on 1303s, maybe, 1404s, maybe 1504s. I have that 03 rig that caught on fire, and that's got, I believe, 1504s on it, so maybe I'll put those on here. But yeah, I'm really curious what the 3.5-inch one is gonna weigh. As long as I'm below 400 grams, I'm fine. FAA kind of changed the rules a bunch of months ago about flying over people, And I've always kind of been in a gray area with this style flying anyway, because I'm not flying over people, I'm flying over crew, right? Like the riders are on the organization's insurance, the governing body, or whatever the hell you want to call America Criterium Cup. And so they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're crew. And of course, you know, the FAA doesn't do a good job at all of like differentiating these things. You know, they say people, but like, you know, like I'm a people, and as a pilot, I'm allowed to fly over myself, right? Like, I it's one of the many incredibly gray areas of the rule set that we have to attempt to operate under. So that the extra, for the record, the extra stuff that I needed to order with these was the extra prop guards, basically, right? And they didn't have those on their website quite yet. So here, they now do, though. You're welcome. If you're going to buy one of these, you've got the base plate, and the base plate really shouldn't break. This is thick enough where I don't think I'll have issues with this base plate breaking. I hope not. But because this isn't really the base plate. This kind of sits up on top. It's more of like a top plate. And then these guards sit down below it. So most crashes are going to hit the guards first. And if the old AOS Cinas are any indication, these guards are going to break every single time you crash. And so for me, I absolutely have to have an extra set of these on hand so that I can repair it right away. God forbid I get 2 of these live broadcast gigs, you know, one weekend into the next. I got to be able to come home and fix this damn thing. I do, you know, in the world of professional kind of anything, filming, you know, videography, photography, whatever, there's a saying that 2 is 1 and 1 is none, meaning that if you have 1 of something, it's going to break the second that you get on the site, and it's basically none. You've now got none of that thing. And then 2 is 1, as in you need to have 2 of something because it's going to break. At least one of them is going to break, and then you've got 1. So 2 is 1. Always remember that. 2 is 1 and 1 is none. If you're going to do any professional work and you're not showing up with duplicates of damn near all your gear, you know, look, keep in mind, it's a very small community. So if you do that, if you show up with just 1, and it's time for you to go, and it's broken, and you can't get the shot, that very well could be your last gig. It's pretty unacceptable to get paid to show up for a thing, and, you know, they've spent God knows how many dollars, God knows how much time organizing it all so that you can get that shot, and then if you can't get it, that's a really big deal. I know, like, for us, just if you're new, or if you've never done professional work, it might not seem like a very big deal, but it is a really big deal, and word will get around very quickly, and you probably won't get any other gigs. So, you know, this is why safety is so important when doing this professionally. This is why having multiples of as much gear as possible is super important. I don't travel with 2 transmitters. Transmitters don't typically just die. But it is sketchy that I don't travel with 2 transmitters. If possible, I like to travel with 2 sets of goggles. Goggles fail more often than transmitters, but they don't fail all that often. So it's you know, a little sketchy when I do travel without the second set of goggles, but it's a pretty fair bet. You know, the stuff that fails all the time are the quads and the batteries. So you want to have as many of them as possible. I forgot that the batteries on this scale shat the bed. Did they really shit the bed, or are they just not making contact? Nah, they did. So I'm super interested to weigh these 2 things. So I'm going to do that real quick here. Hold on. Let me just get a couple of AAAs. And we'll be back in business. Hang on. Are these the only AAAs that I've got? These fancy ones? Where did all the AAAs go? AAA batteries are the goddamn worst, man. Don't last very long. Or a little. There we go. So just the... No, wait all. Oh, wow, these batteries I just put in are going dead, too. They're probably sitting in that case forever. So just the carbon... I don't know why you would care about this number. Oh, wow, that's pretty heavy. Yikes. So this is the bigger one. This is the 3.5-inch one. Just the carbon is 125 grams. And then camera plates, screws, standoffs, bring it up to 161.8 grams. Call it 162 grams. So 162 gram frame. That's heavier than I thought. Should still be totally fine staying under 400 grams. But I try to keep these rigs really, really lightweight for the best possible efficiency. And it does make a difference, for sure. But, you know, it's a frame with full prop protection. I don't know what's going on with Canon Utility, but hopefully it'll stop being a dick. So this is the 3-inch frame, which should be significantly lighter. Just get... I don't know why I'm taking it out of the plastic. The plastic doesn't weigh hardly anything. But, I mean, I guess I gotta take this apart anyway. So, here's a bunch of the carbon bits. Here is the base plate. Oh, you know what? I just weighed that with 2 full sets of the prop guards. I didn't need to do that. Let me reweigh that. That was not a good measurement of weight. So this is the extra set of 3-inch prop guards. Great. You're working really well, OBS. I'm super thrilled. There it is. Okay, it was YouTube this time. YouTube shit the bed this time. YouTube, man, you were just you make making you money really difficult. It's a very strange business model you've got going on there. But, you know, what do I know? Just the carbon on the 3-inch build is 63.4 grams. Camera plates, everything else brings it up to 95.2. Much lighter. 95.2. Let me reweigh the 3.5-inch build, though, without the second set of guards. Wow, the guards are 25 grams. So... all up, we're looking at 136. 136 grams for the 3.5-inch one, now that I've removed the extra set of... that's much better. 160 was kind of crazy. So that's much, much better. Can you turn off, please? Jesus. All right. Let me actually... throw the scale over there so I can remember to take the batteries out and charge them. So yeah, this is cool. I'm super glad that these have finally arrived, and I can get these builds going on 04 Pro and see what the 04 Pro is like. That's exciting. I held off doing this for a long time. I kind of dipped my toe into 03, and I built that 103 rig that caught on fire as soon as I put it on 6S. But I got my money's worth out of the Vista setup for sure. This is this has been a long time coming, moving up from the Vista setup. You know, the one of the big reasons that I didn't kind of rush it is that the 03 was not as good in low light as as the Vistas. And at these cycling events, at a bunch of them, at the majority of them actually, I fly pretty deep into Blue Hour. And so I was kind of worried that the 03 wouldn't, I would have to stop flying a little bit earlier than I wanted to with the 03 setup. That coupled with the fact that the one that I built caught on fire, I just said to hell with it. I'll wait for the next. And so that's 04. And I'm pretty early to the game getting 04 up and running. So I'm kind of happy with that. So I can get these setups going with 04 and then, run these for another couple of years. The whole build a whole bunch of rigs and then use them for a year and then tear them down and change a bunch of shit and then use them for another year and then tear them down and change a bunch of shit. That's a bit much. I can't necessarily afford to constantly be on the cutting edge, especially when the system that I had worked totally fine. So this worked out really, really, really well. I don't think that we'll get an 05 set up for at least a couple of years. If ever, to be honest, with the absolute insanity that's going on. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point here DJI is just like, you know what, fuck you, America. I don't want to have anything to do with you. It would be well deserved if they were to do that. I know a lot of companies are, and I don't blame them for even a second. So who knows, man? Who knows? So this is the bigger one. So yeah, I got a build bag kind of started here. This has the 1604s in it. It's got an 04 Pro. So I can drop the rest of this stuff. All I need is to find a little stack here. I got the receivers all lined up there. And yeah, I will have a build in the bag. It's my way of kind of staying organized. There we go. Sweet. I'll put that guy back there. For this, the 3-inch setup, I have a bag somewhere. Here it is, right in front of me, actually. This is the, so this was the, I feel super bad tearing this apart. Maybe I won't, I don't know. But this has a perfectly good 03 in it, and this is the Raxus frame. Which was designed for the 03. This thing flew great when it was on 4S, but then the ESC caught fire, and it looks like I've already taken the ESC out of this. So I'll probably just throw in, since it's all the way built, I think I'm just going to put an ESC into this, and then this will be kind of like a backup rig. 03 will work. The 03 VTX will talk to the Goggles 3 and the Goggles 2. You just have to kind of rebind it, which admittedly is super annoying. But this is a 2.5-inch build, so I think, yeah, I think I'm gonna rebuild this finally. The flight controller should be good. It got a little bit burnt, but it doesn't look that bad at all. And yeah, this is, yeah, right. This is on Crossfire though, which is a little bit annoying. So I'll probably pull this. Oh, this is actually on Crossfire and ELRS. This is one of the ones that I set up dual receivers on. So I might actually leave this. Maybe I'll just leave this alone. Yeah, I will, because this will work with Nomad because it's got the 2.4, regular old 2.4. And then I have a small Crossfire module that lives in the bottom of my bag. So God forbid, Nomad is not working right and maybe Crossfire works right. This rig could become the star of the show. You never know. And 03 is still pretty good until you get towards low light. So yeah, I will not be putting... Yeah, and so the motors that I put on here are, they're not 1504, they're 1405. These are the Axis Cinematic C145, which is 1405. I'm super tempted to take these motors off of here, off of this 2.5-inch rig, and put them onto this 3-inch. The problem I'll probably run into, though, is that I cut these motor wires short. I cut these motor wires the exact length for this 2.5-inch setup, so they're not going to be long enough for this 3-inch setup. But what I can see here on this 3-inch setup is this part of the arm right here is thick enough for me to put an LED race wire. So what I think I'm going to do is pull these motors off here, put them onto this 3-inch rig, cut the motor wires even shorter, drop a little arm LED on here, which I like the idea of having anyway. And then, yeah, I'll have a 1405 motor on a 3-inch frame, and away we go. And then on this guy, I'll probably, yeah, that's what I'll do. On this guy, I'll pull apart the AOS Cine 2.5 that exploded at that last event, and that's got T-Motor 1404s on it. I'll drop that onto here. I'm not going to buy another one of those plates for that AOS Cine. I would rather have... So this is the Raxus frame, which is basically the QAV Cine 2.5-inch frame set up for 03. This frame was made by B-Rad down in Florida, and he did a great job with it. This Raxus frame and the QAV Cine frame are way more durable than the AOS Cine 2.5 frames. And so, you know, this being like a backup rig, I would rather it be totally bomb-proof than kind of like one crash and it explodes. So yeah, you'll get to see the return of the Raxus, which will be pretty cool, because these motors actually really impressed me. I don't know if you guys remember, but when I flew this thing before it exploded, I was kind of blown away by the flight performance. Here's the ESC that it had that just absolutely and completely caught on fire. It was completely fine on 4S, and it is an ESC that was rated for 6S. It's actually an Acon ESC. And yeah, it ran totally fine on 4S. I put a 6S battery on it. I took off. It was flying totally fine for a couple of seconds, and then it just exploded in flames. Which is, you know, something that I've talked about for a long time. When it comes to micros, there is little to no benefit in going from 4S to 6S because we're just not pulling hard enough on the motors and the powertrain, the motors and props aren't pulling hard enough to benefit from the higher voltage of 6S. So there's very little to no actual positives to going up to 6S, and there's a hell of a negative in the ESCs potentially catching fire. This ESC would have been totally fine if I'd kept running it on 4S. But I had to know if 6S would give me a little bit of extra efficiency, which I'm like desperate for with these rigs. Efficiency is something that's really important on these. Now that weight limit has been moved up from 250 to 400, it's actually a lot less important because I can just strap a bigger battery to it and away we go. With the 250 gram weight limit, it's really hard to build something that has full propeller protection and can go 40 miles an hour and run for as long as possible. It's kind of a tall order, and I was up against that, which was pretty tough. Let me get caught up on chat. Looks like all hell's breaking loose in the chat. Is Just Bright being an idiot? What's happening here, friends? Everybody just relax. Hold on. Scrolling up to try to find my place. We got that. FizzPV says, that's Odie, the swamp possum, our mascot for the AAA team in Little Rock. Very cool. Very, very cool. AAA baseball, I'm assuming. Craig says, update, would purchase 2 of those 3D printed Cinewhoop Micro King boxes as you were taking care of wife acceptance. Nice. Yeah, I got to get back to custom FPV. I was just worthless all day today. Everyday with Bruno says, what do you think about the 2.5 Hurricane Cinewhoop frame from CNC Madness? I'm not familiar with it, but let's take a look. Nope, not CNC Drones. Or is it? Looks like CNC Madness is now CNC Drones. Frames by size. 2.5. What am I looking for? Hurricane? 2.5. Hurricane 2.5. This looks like pretty much a copy of the Raxus and or the QAV Cine. If you're going to copy a box frame, those are good ones to copy. I guess there's slight differences. It looks like this main arm here is a little bit thicker. You probably don't really need that to be thicker because a lot of the strength comes from the triangulation over here. But yeah, it looks super, super, super similar to the QAV Cine from Lumineer, which is a Ryan Harrell designed frame, or the Raxus. And the Raxus is basically like a remix of the QAV Cine. I mean, there's little tiny differences here and there, like these cutouts are different size, different shape, but I mean, other than that, like the geometry of the frame, the location of the standoffs is all super similar to those other 2 frames. Different camera mounting setup here. This is an awful lot. I don't know why there's so much TPU for this camera mount. You could probably save a little bit of weight there. But yeah, I mean, this frame is probably every bit as good as the QAV Cine / Raxus, and I've had really good luck with them. So this frame is probably great. It looks like there's a couple different options for either camera or VTX mounting. Oh, that's cool that you get to change you get to select your carbon fiber thickness to 2 millimeters versus 1.5. That's pretty slick. Yes or no on the chamfering. That's pretty nice. Yeah, it's probably great. Here's what I'll say about this style frame. It is way stronger than the old school AOS Cine 2.5, but it is less efficient. I had two different rigs that I would bring to all these events: the AOS Cine 2.5 and the QAV Cine. When I was doing testing to see how far I could push RF before and the goggle signal before it gets nasty, I would always use this. I would always use the stronger, less efficient frame. And then when it was time to actually fly and actually chase, I would use the AOS Cine 2.5. If eventually the Cine 2.5 fell out of the air and exploded, and I switched to this rig and it was totally fine. It was just a little bit less efficient. So this frame design is great because it's bomb-proof. Just the geometry of the top and the bottom plates. But if you're looking for a little bit of extra efficiency and or speed, the AOS frames will do that for you. The new style of AOS frame sacrifices some safety, which I'm weirded out by, to be completely honest with you. But everybody's doing it, and everybody's using this style of frame now. And so, I don't know. The trick is to not crash. Especially don't crash into people. And I do a lot of things to make sure that doesn't happen. In a perfect world, though, I would love it if I could get my hands on the old style AOS Cine frame in 3-inch and 3.5-inch. But I'm gonna give this a shot. We'll try to. Here we go. So if we go to Chris Rosser, and we go to frames, the new style of AOS Cineframe. So here's the 3-inch. It just has this one single carbon fiber guard, I guess we could say. I really prefer there to be a second guard up on top here to make it a little bit harder for someone to like reach their fingers in there, or like, God forbid, this hits at just the right angle and that propeller kind of slices somebody, you know, like just this freaks me out. This area in here, you know, this propeller is going to swing around here and it's not perfectly even with this guard down here. It's raised up from this guard. So if this thing goes and like goes perfectly sideways diagonally against somebody, I feel like even maybe in the front here, I feel like it could, the propeller could maybe hit somebody's skin, and that's not good. But this design, this is the currently available design. I really wasn't able to find, there aren't many frames like this that exist. And so I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to build it up. I'm going to like hold it against the desk and see, you know, how many angles there really are where there's a chance that the propeller, the tip of the blade can actually hit someone, and then I'll make a decision. I have a feeling it'll be okay. I'll give it a shot. If it's bad, I'll go a different direction. But you know, the Spider Itsy that like pretty much all at this point, I think, of the pilots that are flying over crowds of thousands of people, it has even less protection than this. Actually, it's even sketchier than this. I feel a little bit more comfortable with this because it has this going on up here. This is gonna give it a little bit more of an angle, and yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna build one of these up, and I'm gonna sit here on the desk, and I'm gonna do the little thing that I do where like I hold it against the desk in all different orientations to see, you know, and hopefully there's only like 1% of the time that the propeller could possibly hit someone, because yeah, I already bought them. But yeah, this is the AOS Cineframes that I was just unboxing and farting around with. This is the 3-inch version, and then this is the 3.5. They even make a 4-inch version, which is kind of insane. I don't think that I could probably get the 4-inch version under 399 grams, but the 3.5 will be totally fine. And I would rather have a little bit extra headroom and a smaller craft. You know, I'm like going up to a bigger propeller size gets you more efficiency. That's for sure. Like it almost always offsets the amount of extra weight that you add, and you get extra efficiency. What I'm not so sure about, and like a huge consideration with these things, is how they do in the wind. The bigger the frame, the bigger the propeller, the bigger of a sail it is, the bigger of a kite it is, and it's going to catch more of the cross breeze. Yes, it's going to have more power and more weight to not be affected by that cross breeze, but I think that you know, and that's a huge consideration. Like when I fly these rigs, it's for some strange reason always seems to be somewhere that's got a whole bunch of wind, that's got 10, 15, 20 miles an hour of wind. And so I think the best bet is to build it as small as possible with the biggest battery possible. And so like as tempted as I was to do that with the 2.5-inch builds, just, you know, now that I have an extra 150 grams, right, just slam a big ass battery on on top of these 2.5-inch builds and away we go. To make enough thrust to keep these 2.5-inch builds in the air, the motors have to turn mega RPM, and it's noisy, and it's a really obnoxious, screechy, high-pitched noise. And so I've been really wanting to go to a 3-inch box frame for a long time. Nobody made them. And so I'm really excited about this AOS 3.0. And I almost bought 2 of them, but instead of buying 2 of them, there's a 3.5-inch bi-blade that I'm really interested in. So I'm super hopeful that this AOS 3.5 with a bi-blade, and so now the bi-blade has 50% less blade running around that's going to catch less wind. I'm hoping that the 3.5-inch rig with the bi-blades will be as good in a cross breeze as the 3-inch rig. But I'll hopefully get the same, if not more, efficiency because it's on a bi-blade. It'll be heavier, and like, yes, I'll be able to put a bigger battery on it, but I don't necessarily want to do that. I would love to keep running 4S 850s and 4S 1050s. And so we'll see. That'll be I'm actually like really excited to get those built and to get them to the, so I'm going to be using them at Tulsa Tough, which is a criterium race in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so that'll be when I really get to see, because if my past luck is anything to go off of, it'll be windy as hell there. I'll really get to see what the difference is between 3.5-inch with bi-blade versus 3-inch with tri-blade. And I'll probably have the 2.5-inch rig there as well, and I'll do a little bit of testing with that to kind of dial these setups in. So yeah, that'll be neat. I'm excited for that. All right, let me get back into the chat. Let me get caught up on chat, and then we'll dive into the 04, and then that'll pretty much bring us to the end of the stream. Brian Kirk says, do you have a link to the 03 fire? No, because I believe I was flying at line of sight when it happened, so I don't think I really have any video of it. I put the 6S battery on it, and before I even put the goggles on, I just took it, from what I remember, I just took it off, and I was just hovering it and moving it back and forth, and then, yeah, I was looking right at it. Was line of sight, because I was looking right at it when flames started shooting out of the ESC. So yeah, there's no video of that, and I wasn't wearing a GoPro on my head or anything like that. Off Axis says, just needed a timeout. Shoot me if you don't agree. Nah, I trust you, Off Axis. I trust you. BMF Spade says, they have old frames at GetFPV. Yeah, but there's no 3-inch version, unfortunately. The old AOS frame is 2.5, and then there is a 3.5-inch version of it available, but I'm really excited about this 3-inch frame. I think 3-inch is the way to go. I think that's going to be the best mix of, it's not so big that it's a bigger sail to catch more wind. With propellers, we have tons of great 3-inch propeller options. Should still be able to do a 1404 motor, although I think I'm going to try this 1405 rather. And yeah. Every Day with Bruno says, thanks for the input. I'm going to order it now. It must be mostly flying in the woods. Very cool. It'll be cool for that. You'll be able to bounce off of stuff. Denzel the Terrible says, would a spacer under the motor move the prop down to be even with the guard? It would, but then you run into the problem of the propeller being so low that if you crash anywhere, you're not able to take off. This is the main thing that I don't like. Well, anywhere like that's not like totally flat, right? So like the grass. This is the thing that I hate most about pusher builds, is that you have to take the walk of shame a lot, because if you land it in the grass, the propeller is so low that it can't push through the grass and you can't take off. Or it blows the ESC up, even better. So yeah, I don't think I would space that motor down any, but we'll see. We'll see what it's like. If it's like really nasty, when I build it up, I might switch to a different frame. Monkey D. Cluffy's in the house. What's up, brother? He says, why not build an itsy? I just find the itsy to be an unsafe frame design. That's probably like 99% me being a fucking 44-year-old fuddy-duddy. But at the same time, I don't want to be that guy that gashes someone's forehead and puts them in the hospital with a scar for the rest of their life because I was flying a frame that had an ultra thin little stringer of sharp ass carbon fiber around the propeller and not a whole lot of actual propeller protection. Like the itsy scares me in both respects. It scares me that driving that single piece of carbon fiber into someone's face is going to cut them deep, and then it's going to roll and the propeller is going to cut them too. I just, you know, I get why guys are running it, and I get that it's going to be efficient and it's going to fly great, but I just think it's a little bit over the line in terms of a lack of safety. Like, yes, it I think it satisfies the FAA's rule of no externally rotating things that can lacerate the skin, but I don't really know. I mean, how do you deter? It depends on how you read that, right? Like, you can read it in one way and say, like, hey, look, there is a piece of carbon fiber on the outside of the propeller. We're good. But you can also read it in the fact that if you put that thing at the right angle, I can almost guarantee you that that propeller will hit, similar to these AOS frames, which is why I'm sketched out about them. And, like, I don't know, being someone that cares about doing this forever and cares about not hurting someone else that just goes to a place to enjoy a concert, right? I read that differently. And if the propeller can hit somebody, that freaks me out. So I don't know. We'll see about these AOS frames. Like I said earlier, I'm a little bit more comfortable because they have that extension on the top of the arm and that standoff all the way on the outside. That's not only going to make that duct a lot stronger, that's something that the previous AOS frames did not have, and that's why they're so fragile. So I like it out there because it makes the frame a lot stronger. I'll probably be able to crash it once or twice without it exploding. But it also adds another pivot point for it to not have the propeller cut the shit out of somebody. But yeah, I totally get why so many people fly that. Here, just in case you don't know the frame that I'm talking about. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, sub 100. Boy, these pictures are really dark. So yeah, this is the best. I think this is the best picture of it here. Isn't that, no, this is the 1.6 inch. Everybody's flying the 2-inch version, right? Where's the, isn't there a 2-inch version of it? Maybe not. Maybe it's just this 1.6 inch. And I mean, you know, you could argue that a 1.6 inch motor and prop combo is not enough to cut somebody. And I don't know if you'd be wrong. I could have sworn this was a 2-inch build, and 2-inch motors and props sketched me out significantly more than 1.6. But yeah, I mean, this wouldn't work for me anyway. A 1.6 inch, even a 2-inch build, that won't work for me. They won't be efficient enough. They won't be able to carry enough speed. So that's another reason that I haven't built one of these yet and don't really plan on it. I don't really have the use for it. But yeah, I don't know. This just scares me a little bit. I could be overreacting. I actually feel a lot better now that I'm realizing that it's a 1.6 inch setup. As a 2-inch setup, which is what I thought that it was, yeah, that's kind of creepy. But I don't know. This still sketches me out a little bit, man. This carbon fiber here is awful thin, and like, I would like to think that it's chamfered, but it doesn't look like it is. Maybe you can put like a TPU cover on it or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It just, I really prefer the idea of having a carbon fiber guard below and above the propeller so that you kind of can't get in there at that angle. But I don't know. It's everybody has a different barometer for like safety, and that's okay. You know, like, No wrong answers. Martin Tanley says, can you explain the difference between a built-in AIO receiver versus a manually soldered receiver? How come all don't come built in? Seems way more convenient. What if the receiver dies, right? Then the whole AIO is dead. That's the main argument for having an external receiver. That's the main argument against AIOs in general, right? What if anything fails on the AIO? The whole thing has to go away. And that sucks, right? So, yeah, that's really the big thing with AIOs. They don't have any real redundancy, and if any one thing lets go, you got to trash the entire thing. It's absolutely more convenient. It is super convenient to have an all-in-one that's got the flight controller, the VTX, the ESC, the receiver, and you just hook it up and away you go. But there's always a downside. The other issue with AIOs is that they've got the gyro, which is a very sensitive little piece of electronics, on the same ground plane and connected to all of the other stuff that makes electrical noise. So their AIOs used to fly pretty bad because of that. They've really figured that out though, and a lot of the AIOs are fly just as good as their individual flight controller and individual ESC counterparts. But they never will fly quite as good because with an AIO you've got more wires hooked up to it, right? Namely the motor wires. And those wires are going to hold that AIO in place. And you don't want that. You want the board that has your gyro on it to be as free floating as possible. So an individual ESC and flight controller will 100% fly better than an AIO because of that fact. And there's you can't really argue that. That is an unarguable fact. Maybe it only flies 1% better. And if that doesn't matter to you, then that's great. But yeah, there will always be a little bit of a difference. So I've got a bunch of... so this will be interesting. We get to see how much of a pain in the ass. I glue this So this is the Happy Model 04 mount. And I use a little bit of E6000 here to keep it from to keep it where it needs to be in this mount. And now we're going to get to see how much of a nightmare it is to remove that E6000. And it doesn't look like it's much of a nightmare at all. E6000 is one of the things I love most about E6000 is when you go to peel it off like this, it comes off in one big blob. That is awesome. I was really hoping that would be the case. So yeah, that's great. Off on the one side. Is this camera out of focus again? Hold on. Come on, you rat bastard. There it goes. Okay. So that's one side, and I just put like a little blob of it. Nothing crazy. Just a little blob of it between the camera and the mount. I did have once or twice the camera would slide back in this mount a little bit. It was easy to push it back forward, but to get around that, I just did this little blob of V6000, and yeah, beautiful. That came off super easy. I think I did another blob in the back. Yeah, I did. I did another tiny bit in the back here. Let me use a tighter set of needle nose pliers to maybe grab that. Well, hold on. Let's just see. Let me just push back on the yeah, no, we're fine. It's pushing it right out of there. It's the blob in the front that does the majority of the work. So here we go. Yeah, and that E6000 just let right go. Cool. So let's see here. Did the pins that Mads Tech has had a hard time with breaking off, did they break on this? And I'm going to have to look at this with magnification, so you guys aren't going to be able to really see. But well, what the hell? Where's all the E6000 that I added? I added a big bead of E6000. Where the hell is it? Well, I guess it's there. Wow, I should have added a lot more E6000 to this. So the connector looks fine. Let me look around the PCB here to see if I can find any anything that's kind of broken off. No, the front looks fine. Let me look at the back on the bottom. Well, that looks fine. There don't seem to be any signs of like physical damage. Let me push on the connector a little bit to see if maybe. Oh wow, no, this is solid, man. That E6000 got in there. This seems nice and solid. Let's try the other side. Nah, man, that's fine. Yeah, there's no movement from that. Let's try the middle here. Nah, man, that's good to go. Huh. Looks to be fine. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole bunch more chips on the inside of this. I'm not going to rip this lens off to check them. But yeah, I mean, there's no obvious sign of physical damage. Let me hook a battery up to it real quick. Throw the goggles on, and we'll see if by pulling it out of the canopy, it's magically come back to life. You know, I should have done this. I did put it down for 24 hours and then plug it back in, and it didn't magically come back to life like FPV stuff has a terrible tendency to do. But I should have done what I'm about to do before taking this out of the canopy. But I've already kind of done it once, so it shouldn't have made a difference. But if it works totally fine right now, I'm going to be kicking myself in the ass for not having done this before I pulled it apart. Dave S. says, so what size rig do you stop using AIOs? Pretty much 2-inch as far as I'm concerned. Anything bigger than 2-inch, I immediately go to an individual flight controller, an ESC, for better flight performance, for more serviceability, right? Like, if one breaks, it doesn't take the whole shit with it. All right, so let's see here. The propeller was vibrating against the camera. Connecting to 04 air unit, and there we go. I've got full OSD that is updating, but nothing else. So let me take this camera plug and I'll just kind of like push on it. Nothing. Let me just, I'm just sort of in general pushing on the different components on the camera to see if it'll kind of come back to life. Pushing on the MIPI now, nothing. Let me push on the MIPI that's on the VTX. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Push on the VTX itself. Still nothing. Nah, she dead. I think the camera's gone. But might not be, you know, wherever the camera feeds to on the VTX, that might have. Well, let me look at the VTX next. Okay, so confirmed broken. Let's look at the VTX next to make sure that there's not physical damage on that. So let's see here. those actually. I don't do what I just did. Make sure that your antenna is plugged in. So taking a quick look at the VTX here. Looks all right. I was pretty careful with the Happy Model canopy to make sure that it wasn't going to hit anything on here. But, boy, you never do know. Looks fine. So the top looks okay. I don't see any signs that anything has hit this. So now let's take a look at the bottom. These grommets have been pushed up against the other grommets for so long that they're like glued to them. Hold on, let's just break that little bond that they've formed here. Well, this grommet looks like it might be ripped. Is it? It's not ripped yet, but it's on its way to ripping. All right, so let's take a look at the bottom here, because there's a chance that the bottom of this thing banged into the AIO, and that could have hurt it. They've got this sticker on the bottom, which I'm not going to remove because I am sending this in for repair. Nah, man, it looks fine. There's no evidence whatsoever that that anything smacked into this. So everything is nice and shiny, which typically means that they have conformal coated it. They dip it, and so like if something had smacked into this, I feel like I would see it on the conformal. It could be something under this sticker, but I'm not gonna pull this sticker off and then send this $120 thing in and have them say, well, you pulled the sticker off and that voids the warranty. Sorry, bro. So yeah, I apologize that I'm not willing to dive deeper into this, but $120 is $120. And it kind of doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't, like it blew up. The end. So yeah. I had it mounted in a way where it shouldn't have made contact. This Happy Model mount is really strong. It's molded. It holds the camera far enough away from it. I had the camera E6000, so there's no way that the camera would have slid back and hit this. I think that as tiny little sensitive components tend to do, I think that I slammed it hard enough against metal that a trace broke internally, or a component that I can't even see broke off, because Jesus Christ, there are so many little tiny components on this thing. Yeah. It's pretty insane that any of these camera systems work for more than like 3 crashes. This rig has been crashed quite a bit more than that. And so I have a really hard time crucifying DJI for making something that, yeah, is not infinitely durable. We will see. You know, this is the first one of these to let go. I had a bunch of batteries through it. Maybe these are no more durable than the Walk Snail Lite. If that's the case, this is a much better camera system in so many different ways. And so I don't know if, I don't know if that'll change. It almost certainly won't change my mind about this versus the Walk Snail Lite. I think this is still the way to go. I don't think the MIPI is the problem either. If it was, when I was kind of moving it around, it should have at least given me some kind of a blip or something like that. So I think the MIPI is fine, even though, you know, the fact that they continue to use these MIPIs is not great. They are a super fragile connector, but I don't know. The way that they did the 90-degree angle on this, I think, is kind of nice. It's better than having them sticking out. I do wish that they'd done what HD0 did and just reverse the MIPI plug so that instead of doing this weird 90-degree thing, the plug just went inwards. That would make an awful lot more sense. I'm sure there's a reason why they didn't do that. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't see or feel any damage here. Everything looks totally fine. So I had a feeling that was going to be the case, but yeah, that's where we are. So I will Google DJI 04 repair and see what that looks like. I know I've heard from a bunch. Let's see. DJI 04 repair. We're going to not rely on the AI. Support for DJI 04 Air Unit series. Online repair request. There we go. Online repair process. Data backup. Repair. Blah, 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 blah. So, I'll do this tomorrow or Friday. Repair fees depend on the inspection result. I guess they're doing it free because it's happening so early, right? We're still under the 30 or 60 or 90 day whatever. If they, I'll say this. I will be blown away if they repair this for free. And I swear to God, I've heard of more than one people that have had their 04s repaired for free. Whether or not they had bits of grass in them, I don't know. But yeah, I'll be blown away if they repair it for free. That's pretty good customer service. Dave S. Oh, we got that. Michael Sosha says, I'll send you a new unit. I got 2 extra. Are you talking about the 04 Lite? That's a super kind gesture, but I actually have 3 of them, so you're good. I've got the other one in the 2-inch build, and I've got the other one in the 1S build. And yeah, I really want to see what the repair process is like with this, so I'll send this off. It's all good. This is actually the one that I fly the least often at the moment, so I will barely notice that this is not together. And yeah, but super cool offer of you, man. I really appreciate that. Islander FPV says, are you able to connect to the 04 Air unit's internal storage? Does it light up when you plug it in? Great question. I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, because I pulled the footage off of this. But just for the sake of argument, let's do it real quick. Yep, power's right up. And I had OSD, right? So when I was feeding it full battery voltage, it was getting OSD. And let's see if it pops up on the desktop. There it is. Yep. So the, yeah, it still mounts. It's still got all this good stuff on it. And so just more ammunition to support it being a camera problem. The camera died. But I mean, it kind of depends. Like there's not a whole lot going on the PCB that the camera is on. So they might have put a lot of the camera circuitry on the VTX itself. And so that, yeah, really tough to pinpoint that. I am not so they put these blobs of glue on these MIPIs. I don't want to break these blobs of glue off of this and another one just to try a replacement camera on here to kind of narrow that down. Again, you can't buy the replacement camera anyway. So this thing broke and it's going back to DJI to get fixed. I'm not gonna, screw around with another one that I've got and potentially flex the weird little MIPI setup that they've got and break that just to try to troubleshoot this. Like, if these cameras were available, I would just buy a replacement camera and then swap it onto this, but they're not yet, and so yeah, I don't really find there to be any value in me diving into this any deeper. Make sense? Hopefully. What am I going to do with all these BT 3.0 batteries? I guess I'm just going to have to start discharging them. Ooh, I can hook them up. I can let the Vifly do its thing. The Toothster, I should say. Toothster has discharge mode, so I can hook a bunch of these up. This is the only build that I have. Oh wait, no! I can run these on the analog rig. What am I doing? Yeah, I don't need that. I'll run these BT 3.0 batteries down on the analog 75mm rigs. That'll give me a chance to fly them a little bit more. Morton Upshot says, free repair, but you will pay $200 tariff to send it there and get it back. I think they might be, they might have a U.S. repair facility. That'd be nice. Demo FP says, will the E6000 void the warranty / repair? I'll let you know. I scraped the majority of it off. I will, I don't want to risk it voiding it. As much as I would love to leave it on and see what they say, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna peel off that tiny little bit there, and I'm gonna peel off this tiny little bit over here, and now you can't even tell that that there was any E6000 on there. I certainly hope that wouldn't void the warranty, but I mean, you never know. You never know. And I don't even know if this falls under warranty repair, right? Because like it's been used. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell them that I did a build with it, and I crashed it, and it's the camera stopped working. But I mean, this looks fresh. Like this is not mangled or beat up. But yeah, I don't know. Somebody in the chat mentioned board flexed and broke. You know, the way that we're mounting these things is pretty gnarly. You know, we're mounting these to a relatively flexible plastic frame, right? We're putting them on like rubber grommets on these plastic posts. I would not think that these plastic posts are strong enough to pull out on a PCB to break it. But you just don't know. I mean, it was an inverted crash, so the canopy probably hit first. God only knows how the energy is going to go up through this canopy. You know, it's the canopy has this kind of thing going on either side. So it could have been the canopy pushing really hard on these screws and flexing that. I mean, but there's also like the grommets. And then the other thing is that like the outside of these holes is open. So like if it pushed, I don't know, man. On one hand, like it seems awful janky, the way that we mount these things. But on the other hand, the grommets are pretty squishy and the plastic is pretty bendy. And so I feel like on these plastic frames, like the ducts are going to do a lot of the bending. Would these things survive better in a carbon fiber frame with a set of posts that have the nut between the screw and the carbon fiber? Probably. But apparently, even like on 5-inch rigs, I heard Phantom talking about at one point, where the apex frames having those screws coming up, even with nuts on the bottom, the apex frames were flexing enough and breaking his flight controllers and ESCs, and he's now moved to those old school rubber. It's open threads on one side and it's a screw on the other side, and then it's rubber in between. He's apparently moved to those, which decouples any flex of the carbon fiber, and apparently that's been more durable for him. So, you know, durability is incredibly difficult to pinpoint on these things, and the only way to get good data is for you personally to fly really hard and to break a whole bunch of stuff, because you gotta like break 4 or 5 of these that are mounted one way, and then you got to mount it differently and break another 4 or 5 to get enough, you know what I mean? To get enough, because like everybody crashes different, everybody builds different. It's super, super, super hard. I'll get another one in here. The 2-inch rig has been totally fine. We'll see. Michael Sosha says you should get an overhead microscope. I've looked into it. It won't really work with my desk setup, and I don't really do component repair small enough to use the thing. So yeah, it doesn't really make much sense for my setup here. It would just be like another thing cluttering up this desk. So yeah, you probably won't see this. You probably won't see that on the stream anytime soon. Capital C says they have a repair place in California. I thought so. There we go. I should have just dropped it off while I was there 2 weekends ago. Did we do all the things that I said we were going to do? Mailbag, 6 batteries, DJI Lite, broken, Q&A. I did indeed. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com to support me. You know, if you have a couple of extra bucks and you're not on there, I promise it's going to be worth it for you. You get full access to the Discord. There's a lot of really good posts over on the Patreon page. Look, I guarantee you that I will save you more than $3 a month. And as things go absolutely to hell this year, yeah, it might get a little hairy around here. So if you have a couple extra dollars, please do throw it my way over on the Patreon. It is the only way that I can continue to do this. And I would love to keep doing this. I think of all of the content creators, I feel like in a lot of ways, I'm one of the ones that's going to help us all maybe stay into FPV when it's going to need to be really inexpensive. So yeah, help me keep doing that. I would love to just keep doing this full time forever. But yeah, I need everybody's help, and I appreciate the ways that you guys all already do help me. But if you're not on the Patreon, I guarantee you it's worth your $3 a month. There's so much cool stuff going on over there. I try not to gatekeep as much as possible. I will occasionally do a Patreon only live stream or like edit or something like that. But I really try to like give everything away to everyone, and then just hope that you guys hook me up and support me. But yeah, Patreon's the best way to do that. So join it. Awesome community of people. You'll love it. It's well worth $3 a month. Thanks for supporting me. Here's some more flight footage from this thing before it blew up. This is a good one. This is a cool spot. This really shows how good these 2S 75 and 85 millimeter rigs fly. That's not the right one to play. This is the one that I want to play. I'll see you guys on Friday. Thanks for hanging in with me. Sorry I was kind of low energy tonight. Hopefully I'll be feeling better by Friday. Mental illness sucks. But I'm in it with you, man. Cool. Love you guys. Bye. Okay. Or not.